Okay, so my name is Jonathan Locklear, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about the ketogenic diet. So, according to New York Times, a survey was done of registered dietitians across the nation, and it was found that the ketogenic diet was the most popular diet in the nation. So, it can be a little bit daunting, a little overwhelming even, to try to choose a diet. But before making any choice, we need to have some knowledge on that choice, and when it comes to a diet, we need to know if we can follow that diet, if it's going to be a little overwhelming, or if the regimen is too strict, if it's something that we can stick to is the main point, something that we can follow consistently. So let's talk a little bit about how it started before we get into actually what it is and how we use it. So the ketogenic diet was developed in 1924 at the Mayo Clinic by Dr. Russell Wilder. So Dr. Wilder intended to use the ketogenic diet, keto as we refer to it now, to treat epilepsy before there was a medication for it. So Dr. Wilder wanted to treat epilepsy in both children and adults using this method. So he wanted to mimic the body's biological changes that happen during periods of fasting. The way that Dr. Wilder wanted to do this was to limit the intake of carbs, which our body usually utilizes for energy, and get our body to burn actual fat for energy instead. So how did it work exactly? How did Dr. Wilder use it? So like we said, Dr. Wilder wanted to drive the body into ketosis, which was the overproduction of ketones. And to do this, Dr. Wilder would limit his patients to 10 to 15 carbs per day intake. He would then allow his patients to have 1 gram per kilogram of body weight in the form of protein, and the remaining calories would come from fat. So essentially, Dr. Wilder was training his patients' bodies to operate on a limited amount of carbs. He was trying to change our body systems, trying to mimic that effect of fasting and depleting our body of those carbs, like we said before. So now what is it? So like we said, from the New York Times, it's the top utilized method in the United States for weight loss. That reason may be contributed to the fact the CDC reported in 2007 and 8 that 42.4% was the obesity rate for the United States. That was an increase of 12% over 7 to 8 years from the year 2000. That's a pretty significant increase in obesity. So what has happened is we've now used the ketogenic diet, and we've kind of developed a carbohydrate phobia as a society. And we found that we've utilized it as an easy way, or a faddish way almost, to lose weight. So how do we use keto as opposed to how Dr. Wilder used it initially? So the way we've used keto, right, is it's the same goal of ketosis, to push our body into that. So we want to utilize that fat to drop our body fat percentage, lose weight, instead of utilizing those carbs that we usually intake. Different professions, different people have different suggestions on how to utilize the ketogenic diet this way, but it's been up to 50 net carbs per day. The net carbs are the carbs minus the fiber. Our body can't digest fiber, so we subtract that to get our net carbs that we intake and our body actually uses. Another 25 to 30% of those calories coming from protein, and then the remainder of those calories, somewhere between 60 and 70%, coming from fat. So like we said before, it's the same goal, just with a different purpose. We're still trying to get our body to burn those fats instead of those carbohydrates for energy, in order to lower that body fat percentage and drop that weight, shed those pounds. Right? So it's a pretty strict diet. There are certain things you can eat, certain things you can't eat, and it's a pretty strict regimen of things you have to follow. So to eat or not eat. So the things that we can eat, the things that are allowed to follow the ketogenic diet, you have your meat. Obviously, you need a source of protein. Eggs, high in fat. Avocados, high in fat. And then cheeses, so things like that. So, as you can tell from the things that we're eating, it's a very fat-focused diet, like we said before. We're trying to intake that fat so that can be our main source of energy for our body. Our main source of calories, our main source of energy is going to be fat, so we need to up the intake of those kinds of foods. What we can't eat. So rice, potatoes, bread, things those high density foods that contain so many carbs. We can't A person following the ketogenic diet would have to stray away from those foods that have become a comfort food almost to us, and become so routine in our daily diet, we'd have to abandon. Another thing, we'd have to avoid are large amounts of fruit. Fruits do contain carbohydrates, and they do contain a lot of sugars. Carbohydrates are essentially sugars. They're complex forms of sugars. So, large amounts of fruits could push the body out of ketosis, which is the main goal of the ketogenic diet. So, as you can see, it's pretty strict, so we have to follow certain things. So let's go on to some of the benefits, good or bad. So there are some benefits to the ketogenic diet, obviously. It has been very proven that it does aid in weight loss, short-term weight loss. It does aid in that. It has also been proven to lower blood sugar. Obviously, we said before, carbohydrates are a form of sugar, and if we're not taking in as many carbohydrates, then obviously our blood sugar level is going to drop. There are some disadvantages, however. Some of those disadvantages include nutritional deficiencies. We're kind of limited in what we can eat and what we can intake, so we may be missing out on certain vitamins, certain minerals, things like that our body needs to perform its basic life processes. Another has been observed in people switching to a ketogenic type of diet, is a keto flu. So we're training our body to abandon its normal processes, which are using carbohydrates for energy rather, and we're switching over to using that fat. We're trying to get into ketosis, So it's going to take a while for our body to adapt. We're going to be lethargic. We're going to be a little groggy, things like that. So that's been a very well observed side effect of you switching over to this diet immediately. One that's not listed on the slide but is also a possibility is ketoacidosis. So our body has produced so many ketones that it's also made our blood acidic, which is very dangerous. It's a serious medical condition or emergency. It needs to be treated. So, in conclusion, we have observed some benefits from the keto diet. Right? There has proven short-term effectiveness. It's been proven to help lose weight. It's been proven to help lower those blood sugar levels. There's been pre-diabetic patients or people who have claimed to have rescinded from that, and they're now living healthy lives from utilizing the keto diet. We also taught that it can present significant health risk. There are things that we have to worry about and concerns that we have to take in when we're considering using this diet. The biggest drawback so far is it does lack significant long-term research. There's not a lot of research as to how this affects our life processes, our body, throughout extended periods of time. We've used it short-term and we've kind of seen how that works, but we haven't done it long-term yet. So now we have some information, a little bit of backstory, a little bit of how it works. So whether you want to utilize the ketogenic or keto diet as we refer to is up to you. So you have the information. Thank you.